Our next presenter is Karine Roch. Hello, Karine. Karine is a clinical psychologist with a PhD in psychology. And over the last 25 years, she has been coordinating and implementing mental health and psychological support networks and child protection in humanitarian contexts all over the world. She currently oversees research programs to maternal and mental health, related to maternal and mental health, early childhood development, and child undernutrition for Action contre la faim, or Action Against Hunger. And she does that in collaborations with academic institutions in France, the UK, and the US. Karine will talk to us about experiences with child-friendly spaces in COX'S BAZAR in Bangladesh. Welcome, Karine.
Thank you, Myrto, and good morning, everyone. So on behalf of the two other co-investigators, Sarah Murray and Amanda Nguyen, as well as our team in Bangladesh, I'm glad today to present our scientific evaluation of psychosocial impacts of baby-friendly space that was implemented in COX'S BAZAR in 2021-2022. The study concerns Rohingya refugees living in camps located in the southern part of Bangladesh. In these most populated refugee camps in the world, living conditions are harsh and the population's well-being is frequently challenged. Why is this study essential in this context? First, because there is lack of evidence of low-intensity psychosocial programs for maternal mental health. Second, because we need to assess the risk that poor maternal mental health poses to child growth and development. And third, because we need to get more feedback from service users in low-resource context. Now the intervention. Baby-friendly space is a humanitarian program that was developed by ACF for pregnant and lactating mothers with their 2-year-old children. It aims at improving mothers and children's well-being through participation into tailor-made activities that promote breastfeeding and childcare practices, reinforce mother-child bonding, allows quality time for play and child stimulation, and offers self-care for mothers. Based on this set of activities, we developed a curriculum with 5 modules integrating psychosocial stimulation in nutrition through baby massage and hygiene practices, in baby play and breastfeeding. An additional session was designed for mothers in need of individual psychosocial support. The intervention lasted 8 weeks and the mothers could attend each time they would come to the nutrition consultation with their children. To assess the effectiveness of the intervention, we chose a randomized control trial design. We selected 10 baby-friendly space centers that we randomized by pair. In 5 intervention centers that we call the Enhanced BFS with Implementation Support, the staff was retrained in the new curricula of activities presented earlier. And the 5 control centers, the activities were conducted as usual that we call standard BFS. Regarding the outcomes, for the mother's psychosocial outcomes, which were our primary outcomes, we measures psychological distress, functional impairment, positive coping, and subjective well-being with the different questionnaires that you can see on the screen. Regarding the children, we measured developmental delay as well as weight, height, and mid-upper arm circumferences. We also assessed child psychosocial stimulation by administrating a questionnaire to the mothers. All data were collected between November 2021 and March 2022. Now I'd like to share with you some of our results. First, we did a comparison of demographic characteristics at baseline, and we found that generally both groups were quite similar with a few exceptions, like family frequency of meet per month. When we look at our main outcomes, the first thing to note is that we see improvement generally in both arms, which was quite positive. The improvement in subjective well-being were more substantial in the intervention arm, where mothers had lower scores than those in the control at baseline. We saw very little reduction in distress or functional impairment among control mothers. For intervention mothers, they saw relatively greater reductions, but these results were not statistically significant, as we'll see on the next slide. And notably, overall functional impairment did not change much in either arm. We saw less improvement in positive coping in intervention mothers compared to control mothers, contrary to our hypothesis. Alternatively, at both baseline and follow-up, intervention mothers exhibited more coping than those in the control sites. So these are the actual betas we observed in our regression models that included cluster as a random effect, and in which the control group is the reference here. As you can see, generally we see a greater reduction in distress and functional impairment and greater improvement in subjective well-being. These were not significant once we used the Kenwood-Roger adjustment of standard errors to account for our small number of clusters. Regarding the nutritional status of the children, findings were not as expected. 1/3 of the children were severely acute malnourished, 1/3 were moderately acute malnourished, and 1/3 were non-malnourished. Child development showed better outcomes for the control group, considering that the mean age was similar in both groups. And finally, contrary to our hypothesis, child stimulation, including maternal representations, like with the questions referring to have you felt positively towards your child, for example, they showed overall better results in the control group, and the difference is significant for positive feelings towards their children. So the main takeaway here is that we see potential for integrating psychosocial support activities for improving psychosocial well-being, particularly through reducing distress and improving subjective well-being. But as these results were not significant, we cannot make a definitive statement about the effectiveness of the program in producing change. Notably, results were poor for functioning and positive coping, which encourages us to think more about the specific activities in the intervention and how these important domains might be enhanced in the future. Next step, so far we conducted a parallel implementation research to assess the baby-friendly space from the point of view of service users, their partners, our staff, and stakeholders in refugee camps and host communities. The results will be available later this year. And I'll make a conclusion with a say from a mother who attended our BFS program. She said, "We can take good care of our child by learning these good things from here. If our children are happy, then we're happy also." Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Karine. That was quite a very rich study and very rich presentation. I'm still kind of thinking through the different aspects and very complex that you had a randomized study, which is, especially in those circumstances, quite different. I'm waiting for questions on this topic. Not yet. So, but I think that I will ask a question myself, if you don't mind, Karine. So once again, highly relevant. You said that the results with regards to the positive coping from side of the mothers was less than you expected. That was different from your hypothesis. Could you elaborate a little bit on why you think that happened? And I'm not sure whether I saw whether it was significant or not.
Yes, thank you, Myrto. This is a A very good question, because we actually use the BriefCope, which is one of the questionnaire that is used widely and also in this kind of context. So we really expected that we would see some improvement in terms of copying. Actually, our conclusion is that the questionnaire might be not so relevant in that context for those mothers. So this is something that we are trying to explore further. It might also be that only the intervention did not really support the improvement in terms of copying. And we also have the same question regarding the functioning of the mothers and the use of the WHO DAS in this context. So measurement is really something that is coming out as a concern for us in this research, and we are trying to look further and see how we could use either other questionnaires or what actually went wrong with those questionnaires. And we submitted an article on this topic.
Yeah, thank you, because that's sometimes the concern, because the intervention as such appears to be, it's common sense that it is a positive intervention. And then if your measuring tools don't reflect that, can be quite a hazard. I see a question has come in from the audience. Did you find any mothers with significant mental health problems requiring more specialized support, and were such services available during the study?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, especially in this context, I think it's really important to do a good screening. So we really focus on screening for mothers who have suicidal ideas, and we would refer them to first our psychologist, and if the mother would require more support, we would then refer to another organization in the camp. We did not, as much as I know, our staff did not report mothers with really severe mental disorders, either because then they probably would not come to the program, and they would be referred prior to coming to the program, or just they did not screen and report.
Thank you so much. This is really super interesting. And there's, I'm sure, loads of questions that spring up when you go through it again. But our time is up. And thanks again, Karine.